is a Countdown Bulletin podcast about the assault on Senator Padilla of California at the Kristi Noem propaganda conference on Thursday afternoon. This is also, thus, another reminder that Donald Trump is a domestic terrorist, and anybody who serves him is a domestic terrorist. It was true in 2020. It is true again in 2025. Domestic terrorism. These acts of domestic terrorism have unfolded against the citizens of California since Friday. The lawless threats, the immoral exercise of illegal power, the vow to ignore the civilian courts. They have now escalated to state-sponsored violence against an elected government official, a sitting United States senator, in this case, Senator Alex Padilla of California. Mr. Padilla entered a news conference in which the Homeland Security Secretary, an authoritarian idiot with no respect for the laws or history or ethos of the United States of America, was spouting delusional talking points worthy of a drug addict. Senator Padilla identified himself, demanded answers on behalf of his constituents, his citizens, the residents of the community he represents, the people of the United States of America, particularly those in Southern California who are being terrorized by the Trump dictatorship. He was then seized no more than 25 seconds into a brief statement by agents protecting Noem, believed at first to be Secret Service. Two goons who later showed up to handcuff him were wearing FBI logos as they threw him to the ground. And of course, the Secret Service, the FBI, the other organizations that now surround Trump are acting as the Trump Praetorian Guard. The sound of what happened alone is terrifying, and that sound comes in two parts, two audio clips. Remember, before I play the first part, the key defense from Noem and the criminal gang for which she works and with which she works was that Senator Padilla did not identify himself, was not wearing his ID, and, quoting her, nobody knew who he was. The first part could be a mistake. As you will hear, the second part, that nobody knew who he was, is an outright lie.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to
heads off.
how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted.
Senator Padilla is then dragged out of the room in which the propaganda conference is being conducted, into first an anteroom and then into a hallway, pulled off his feet and pulled to the ground and handcuffed, a sitting United States senator. Better than the caning of Senator Charles Sumner in 1856 by the insurrectionist Congressman Preston Brooks, I suppose, but not really by all that much. Here is part two of what this monstrosity sounded like.
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go and stand behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording allowed out here. I did not know. There's no recording allowed out here per FBI, right?
The other defense of this violation of every tenet of not just American jurisprudence, not just American government, not just American law, but the traditions of American politics. You do not assault a sitting senator on behalf of an apparatchik, a moron working for the opposing party. Apart from that, the other defense from Kristi Noem and her minions was that this was a stunt by Senator Padilla. Sure. Whatever. You want to call it a stunt? Call it a stunt. It's a stunt. Opposing Trump is a stunt. Opposing the Kristi Noem, Tom Homan Gestapo is a stunt. Opposing the militarization of our streets is a stunt. Opposing Trump getting the troops to boo Biden at a military exercise at Fort Bragg is a stunt. Being anti-Trump terrorism is a stunt. Do we think Senator Padilla getting himself thrown to the floor after identifying himself as a sitting senator? Was that part of the stunt? The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who earlier this week called for the governor of California to be, quote, tarred and feathered, which is an 18th century form of torture and even public murder, insisted that the one who should be punished here is Senator Padilla. Censure at least, says Speaker Johnson, and he hints at more. He hints that perhaps expulsion or, who knows, arrest should follow.
That behavior at a minimum is, it rises to the level of a censure. I think there needs to be a message sent by the body as a whole that that is not what we are going to do. That's not how we're going to act. We're not going to have branches fighting physically and having senators charging cabinet secretaries.
I am confident Senator Padilla would accept censure, as would I, were Speaker Johnson to be arrested for his call for violence, for tarring and feathering Governor Newsom. For the record, what Johnson said there, no one charged a cabinet secretary. Go and look at the videotape for yourself. No one got to within 10 feet of her. No one got to within 10 people of her. She was spewing her spewing material to those who were ready to lap it up. Again, this is Trump terrorism. As Governor Newsom said, law-abiding American citizens are now, tonight, after this past week, in Southern California, in Florida, in New York, in other communities, afraid to leave their own homes. People who were born here, afraid to leave their own homes because so many people who were born here have been swept up anyway. Because terrorism is terrorism, and it does not stop being terrorism simply because it has the imprimatur of a evil, bastard-filled government. It is terrorism still. Newsom went on to note that people were afraid to let their children out to go to dental appointments in Southern California. Thomas Kennedy of the Florida Immigrant Coalition posted that there in Florida, quote, a boat transporting individuals to a Telemundo party, that's a television network, a Spanish-language television network heavily into sports coverage, a Telemundo party celebrating 1 year out from the World Cup. That boat was boarded by the Coast Guard. They checked the immigration status of the staff on the boat. The mayor of Miami-Dade, officials from FIFA, the World Soccer Organization, and the leadership of Telemundo were present on the boat. And in fact, the Miami New Times obtained and posted video from Telemundo of apparently a live broadcast or a recorded broadcast of the moment the party boat was boarded and halted outside Miami, offshore Miami, held there for an hour, no one knowing what was going on or how it would end. Terrorism on the West Coast. Terrorism on the East Coast. Terrorism from Donald Trump. Trump is back. He is a sadist. He is not a human being as you and I understand the phrase. He is fully engaged in destroying this nation and fulfilling the textbook definition of terrorism, which is using violence or the threat of it to force political change unlawfully. Ask Alex Padilla if he was a victim of that. Trump did it on June 1st, 2020, when he gassed the peaceful George Floyd protesters at Lafayette Square outside the White House so he could stand in front of St. John's Church with a Bible in his hand. A photo op with a Bible, during which he accidentally held the Bible right side up. At that time, I called it what it was, terrorism, and I called Trump a terrorist. A few months later, Senator Mitt Romney issued a statement in which he condemned all of us for inflating and throwing gasoline on the delicate political situation, and how dare I refer to Trump as a terrorist. 3 months after that, Senator Romney was one of many senators and more congressmen trapped inside Capitol Hill as Trump MAGA terrorists tried to break in to kill them. I have not heard from now former Senator Romney recently about how wrong I was to call Trump a terrorist. Trump has no code, no morals. There is no line he will not cross. A man who virtually began his campaign boasting he could shoot people on Fifth Avenue and lose no support. He does not say that idly, nor without actually calculating the effect. I know this man. I have known him since 1983. There is no there. If something evil has just occurred to him, he wonders only, not is it right or is it wrong, not even can I get away with it. He wonders why no one has thought to do it before, like shooting people on Fifth Avenue. He meant it. He means it. He will mean it. And the people he thinks he could shoot are not hypotheticals, nor random passers-by, nor the New Yorkers he no longer likes. They are people like Gavin Newsom and Alex Padilla, and for all I know, you and me. Incredibly, as disturbing and infuriating as alarm bell ringing as the manhandling of Senator Padilla may be, I am in fact equally disturbed by Thursday's other grotesque development, and this was from Washington. I will read you the Politico headline and one exchange captured in the story. Quote, Hegseth won't commit to obeying courts on Marines in Los Angeles. Subhead, the defense secretary declined to say whether the Pentagon would comply with any judicial order blocking Trump's domestic troop deployment. Rep. Ro Khanna, D. of California, repeatedly pressed Hegseth on whether he would follow a court ruling. You're not willing to say you would respect those decisions? Khanna asked. Hegseth replied, what I'm saying is local district judges shouldn't make foreign policy. Governor Newsom, reposted a video of the exchange on social media platform X. This is not normal, he said. Governor, I will be critical of you for the first time in a week. That's not the phrase I would use. Hegseth refused to confirm he would yield to civilian authority. He has now cloaked himself in the idea that local district judges are not affecting the illegal use of the military on civilian streets for civilian issues. He has cloaked that with this nonsensical fabrication by some lawyer, by some Stephen Miller protege somewhere, that this is foreign policy, that this is beyond the ken of the judges and beyond the rights of the American citizen. It is perhaps the most dangerous thing offered to this country since the Alien and Sedition Acts under President Adams at the start of the 19th century. One more note from the Politico story. The defense secretary, in separate congressional testimony on Wednesday, suggested the administration could deploy troops elsewhere to assist in roundups and deportations. That is, literally have the troops, literally have those Marines in Southern California go on the roundups. You have not just been arrested by ICE and renditioned by ICE. You have been seized by the Marines on the streets of an American city. Full-fledged military dictatorship. At that hearing, Politico notes, Hegseth was not able to immediately cite the legal justification for the deployments. I would add that is largely because there is none. Just Hegseth's answer in testimony Thursday is itself terrorism. While the case determining whether or not the local courts, the federal courts in California, would overrule this illegal use, this illegal usurpation of the use of the National Guard of California, while that hearing was beginning, hours before that first emergency hearing was to start, Hegseth answers, I'm not sure we're going to abide by it one way or the other. Do you know what a defense secretary, a Pentagon chief who will not defer to civilian courts and civilian laws is called? He's called part of a military dictatorship. Hopefully afterwards he is called a fugitive. There is some small good news as I record this. G. Elliott Morris of the site Strength in Numbers, a polling and polling analysis site. He was the last head of the 538 website. Morris has been able to gauge the stark impact of the last week of Trumpian terrorism, not just on opinion in Southern California or among Democrats, but in the United States. 1 week ago, literally 1 week ago, last Thursday, Donald Trump was a positive net 5 points in public approval on how he handled immigration. He was up by 5. People approved of all of this. 1 week, plus 5. As of earlier Thursday, as of earlier today, 1 week later, he is -1. He has fallen a net 6 points and fallen out of the blue into the red in 1 week. This is not just illegal. This is unpopular. Unfortunately, the questions that produces are, will it matter? And how quickly are we approaching the point at which someone like Hegseth or Noem or Trump declares it illegal to conduct or promulgate or print such polls? And when all the courts in the country tell them they are breaking the law in doing so, they say, so what? Because the Trumpist answer to Senator Padilla's demand for answers about the laws being broken in California, the answer to the demand of the Trumpist stooge Hegseth that he obey and affirm he will obey the civilian law which constitutionally prevails over his little gun shop, the answer to any time and any way from Trump and his mobsters to a statement of fact that they have broken the law, their answer is indeed, so what? This has been a Countdown Special podcast. I'm Keith Olbermann.